On today's Minute of the Apes, we shan't wait any longer to get into the minute.
Take your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape! Exercise with an ape make a human down. It talks. We are the keepers of the divine bound. It is our only reason for survival. We are determined to know what the apes want, war or peace. The only good human is a dead human!
The Minute of the Apes. The Minute of the Apes. The Minute of the Apes. The Minute of the Apes.
Hello and welcome to Minute of the Apes, the daily podcast where we break down every minute of the Planet of the Apes movies, 1 minute at a time. I'm Todd. I have my eyes closed so I don't see Sean flexing his arms this time and don't make it all the way through the intro.
I'm flexing.
How are you today, Richard?
I'm doing great.
I'm just ignoring Sean.
That's fine.
It's your default
That's
setting.
what I usually do.
It's our default. Oh, that's kind of
that's
sad.
I know, right?
Oh, hey, little buddy, how are you?
I'm all right. Thanks for asking.
Hey, would you like to have a moment where I let you speak?
What?
Would you tell us what happens in minute 44, Sean?
Is it my turn?
Todd's
All right.
permission.
Thank you, Daddy. All right, we're going to start
Oh,
minute 44.
Yeah, I'm your daddy.
Zaddy. All right. Different podcast. All right, we're starting minute 44 with Zero protesting, no, and ends with Hassline asking Zero how long she's known.
Yes. Let's listen to this minute of 44 of Escape from the Planet of the Apes.
No.
No, I insist. Please sit down. Now, is there anything I can get you, Zira?
Well, I have a strange craving
That is only natural.
for grape juice plus.
Grape juice plus.
It's in the refrigerator.
All right. Is this it? Here we are.
Louis said only a sip.
Zira, it is an excellent restorative, I assure you. Especially in cases of pregnancy, you know. How long have you known?
All right, that's minute 44. We have planet's worth of humans plus 2 living apes, one of who is preggers, and 1 dead ape.
I have to get back into my Cheetos. Let's
We
go.
are getting into some sinister shit now.
Oh, yeah.
And
All
it's
right.
in this minute and the next minute, but we can start in this minute. This is some sinister stuff here.
Well, before we hit Sinister, let's beat the shit out of the elephant in the room. Did they only have budget for one fucking light that was adhered to the camera rig? Because when they walk in, the shadows are horrific.
Yeah. Everything is casting a shadow.
We see a shadow of the mic boom goes across the couch. You see that. I just want to talk about this, the entirety of the scene. When Eric Braeden Hassline gets up to walk and go to the refrigerator, the shadows there are just like everywhere. And it seriously would not work. Lighting like that would not cast a single point of shadow unless it is adhered to the camera rig as they.
Oh, following him around?
I think that's what it has to be.
For important of a scene as this is, when you think about it in terms of it, yeah, they really just kind of dialed this one in.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a great. We don't even really get any. For the conversation he's about to have, Zira is seated.
Take 2.
Zira for this scene.
Take 3.
Zira is seated.
Zira is seated.
Uh-huh.
He's standing.
Yep.
The camera is kind of somewhere in between them. It's not really on her perspective. It's not really on his. But we've now got this giant, tall man whose face we can't even really see.
Right.
Even though he's in the shot, because the camera is somewhere in this nebulous place between them. And we have to watch this happen without getting any kind of tights on either of them until we see drunk Zira.
Well, I mean, does Hassan not understand Zira is a modern chimpanzee and she can take care of herself if she's not passing out because she's pregnant?
Okay.
And also, Zira's an alcoholic now, apparently.
So she says, no, no, no. He goes, no, no, I insist. Is there anything that I can get you? Now, he's already sounding like a gentleman, right? Mm-hmm. I shan't leave you till Cornelius comes back. And she says, I have a strange craving. I did notice around the room that it has been cleaned, so all of those glasses are now put away, where there's no extra, like...
Well, yeah, because last time we saw them in the hotel, they were taking a bath, and then they've gone and done everything.
Right.
So room service came in.
Come through. She goes for grape juice plus, which we're like, oh, we know what that is. Oh, it's funny. She wants
Jesus juice.
And of course, I immediately go, oh, she's pregnant. I mean, that's my first thought, right? Now, it says that Haslin is supposed to react mystified because he doesn't know what it is, but he doesn't seem to have any really reaction to this.
What, that he's talking about the champagne? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it plays so that we and you've got it pulled up there, so maybe when she starts talking about that she wants the
grape
juice plus and it's in the refrigerator. Is that mostly on Kim Hunter at that point? Is he even in the shot?
No, they're both in the shot.
It's a two?
Yeah, it's just a wide.
Is it over his? Is he?
It follows him as he goes over to.
At that point, when she's speaking, is it over his shoulder at all?
No. It is.
The camera
just
follows
really
him.
Weird.
She's seated. He's standing up. You can only see probably a crescent of his face.
Right.
The shot is in between the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
She points to it.
Yeah.
And then the camera finally moves with him. We get to see a little bit of his face as he turns to go towards the refrigerator.
And so for anyone that's listening and doesn't understand, yes, I watched these, but Sean and Richard sit on the same side of the table. They can see Richard. Richard keeps his computer up and they can see the clip over there. But that also helps the listener know what we're talking about.
They walk, and we now understand what a fancy hotel this is because they got like a mini kitchenette with a stove and shit.
And I'm sure back then that would have been some top tier shit to have a refrigerator in your
and a stove.
Yeah.
A stove top and an oven.
But then there are like those hotels that you would stay for extended time.
Yeah,
they have kitchens in them.
That makes sense. Yeah.
What hotel were they supposed to stay in? I know we saw that originally. It would have been like the Beverly Hills Hilton. Like, would they really put a stove in those? I would think, if anything, you're so upscale ritzy, you're letting somebody else cook for you.
So he does this. So Hasline walks over, and we get to see his face, and then the camera kind of tracks with him, but we still see him off in the distance. He opens the door. We see him kind of hunch over, but we're still kind of in this weird wide.
It just followed.
Very weird. Because your story is she's pregnant, she has a craving.
For grape juice plus. At this point, he probably doesn't know what that means.
Correct. Mm-hmm. So your story should, at that point, it's, here's what I'm giving. I'm tossing it to Sean, who's my character, and now he's the main character of the scene. I should follow over his shoulder while he walks and look in that fridge. But instead, they stage it to where it looks like the camera, again, with the shitty lighting rig, is literally simply panning across the room.
Right.
Not even trucking and moving to do it.
No,
it's
just
a simple
turning,
pan.
Yeah.
And it gets there, and he oddly stands to the side of the refrigerator and just looks. Now, in that refrigerator, from what I can see, there are obviously 3 bottles.
There are 3 bottles of champagne. One is two of them are still
sealed,
unsealed, and one of them is uncorked. But what he does is he looks in the refrigerator first before figuring out that she's talking about the champagne. Like, it wasn't like he clearly looks at the stuff in the door and then looks behind it and goes, oh, I think this must be what she's talking about. It was really, really, really kind of intentional when he sees the open bottle.
Right.
So this is what's supposed to happen. The refrigerator, with a secret look of curious satisfaction, Hasline extracts and unstoppers the complimentary bottle of champagne and pours it generously into a sizable wine goblet, which he places on a low table beside her. So when I saw this scene, knowing how the next 30 seconds play out with what he's suggesting, he doesn't hatch this plan until he looks in the fridge and realizes that she's talking about wine. Champagne. And champagne is bad. But according to this, he's already manipulating that entire moment.
And see, this goes back to what I was saying, how that I think he's presenting himself to be nice to her, but went with the underlying motive of getting information from her, because we will see.
Plying her with liquor.
Right. We will see in the next minute that he has a device with him that will allow him to make a record of this interaction. So I don't think he just, unless he's just walking around with that always, hey, I'm always going to be with the ready and get information on other people, which you may be. I think he's intentionally going about this minute. This is where I come into problems with it. My first beer, my first whatever, it took me at least...
You didn't particularly care for the taste of it. And you couldn't drink all that much of it.
But it took me at least 3/4 of it maybe to start being a little buzzy.
Mm-hmm.
She takes one small sip, and that bitch is gone.
Well, yeah. He's an enabler for her now, yeah.
When he picked it back up and shows it to her, she's like, this is like her whole face
you found it.
And her eyes get down, like, oh yeah.
We now know
that sweet, sweet juice.
I wonder how often Cornelius has seen that happy face.
Well, she's pregnant.
Like it almost looks like she had some grape juice plus right before this.
No shit.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to point out that fetal alcohol syndrome was not officially named and discovered till 1973.
That's relevant. That is very relevant.
It's funny because this brings to mind that right now with Abby, my daughter, for those that don't know, we watch a lot of shows together, and she came and said, Dad, can we watch Mad Men? And I said, hey, great show. I'd be happy to watch that with you. Right from the get-go, somebody's pregnant and
drinking and smoking.
And they tell them it's actually good for the baby.
It's for your T-zone, too.
It's really good for the baby to have at least 1 or 2 cigarettes a day. And so I started thinking, man, at one point in this world, we were completely screwing with every baby.
The Flintstones were smoking in the cartoons. They would do commercials for.
Did they really?
Yes, they did.
I don't remember that at all.
Hey, let's see here.
Well, all I know is that my wife stayed away from every bit of alcohol while we had our kid. And apparently, according to Mad Men and Escape from Planet of the Apes, she could have had a fun time.
So Zira says Lewis said only a sip, and Hassline says Zira, it's an excellent restorative, I assure you. Again, we're 1971.
Yeah, a restorative.
So. Are you telling me that it's possible that he's thinking that he's helping her, or that he's being sinister? Because if it's weird now.
I think he's being sinister. I think he's playing it.
The audience knows like, oh, she shouldn't have alcohol. 1971.
I believe he is plying her with alcohol to loosen her lips, but I also believe that the thought process was champagne might be a little good for you. A little drink of it,
And you can also say there's a really dark motive. Maybe he already knows it's not good for the fetus, and he's trying to kill off the baby.
That's what based upon my modern knowledge, I mean, that's what I assume. She should
very
be drinking
sinister
and being pregnant.
Right.
So when I see that, I think it's supposed to be sinister.
Yeah,
right.
I did have Izzy deliberately trying to hurt the fetus.
But he does ask how long she's known that she's pregnant. I thought that was an interesting point that will be relevant for.
And
I think the next
did
minute.
look up the gestation period for an ape is about 8 months.
Okay,
so very similar to humans.
It's kind of a weird thing that it's not surprising that she's pregnant, but you can have it where it's a surprise for the world and the people within she lives, but it's not a surprise to the audience. They've never really played it as that. I mean, again, we've seen baby gifts, we've seen things like that. I almost wonder why we've not seen her rubbing her stomach or being a little morning sick or something up to point, and it would just seem like it fit a little bit better.
Correct. The other thing is that we keep toying this idea of whether Hassline's a villain. This idea that he's letting her have alcohol while being pregnant and going into the next minute when he does a little bit more, I'm like, he is the bad guy.
Oh yeah.
Like this was like the no doubt in my mind. He wants to kill an ape baby.
Yeah, I mean, it basically
or at least cut one up.
Whoa, that might be it too. Yeah,
the story is all but if they put the spotlight on him, that would make a shadow cast against him. They put the spotlight elsewhere, so the shadow's cast on him. He is now officially the bad guy. I think there's no question whatsoever.
And then Zero just wants to get her sip. Her sip just happens to be at the bottom of the bottle, so she's got to go through the rest of it to get to it.
Well, once again, she only needs like one sip before that bitch is gone.
She's silly.
She's a cheap drink.
She's
a cheap date.
Silly ape.
All right, minute 44. Anybody else got anything?
Nope, that's it for me.
All right, that is it. We will be back tomorrow for minute 45, the end of the week. And don't forget, we do put out a episode called In Between, where we talk about different things on our minds
Whatever the heck we want.
that we as friends just like to sit around and talk about.
It's like Minute of the Apes After Dark. We're uncensored. And we talk about boobs and shanting
Okay, and we also turned Sean's mic off. Until tomorrow, I'm Todd. That's Richard and Sean.
Bye.
We'll see you later.
Bye, everybody.